Nyeba kun namdole shin yunde gunge kemba simje gunge nyen jigu tamje kenla gu chai to continue our Dharma discussion. We are discussing about the meditation of the practice as in general path, as well as specifically the meditation itself. um, Practice in general and specifically the meditation, as I said yesterday, is it's like basically just taking care of our this very mind, which we identify as in I, me, and also the source of our happiness, suffering, illusion, insight, everything. If you take care of this one thing, the mind, everything is taken care of. But if you let go this mind wildly, and then no matter what you do externally, or try to fix it, try to complete it, it doesn't work. And because of that, in the sutra, the especially when we talk about the meditation or taming our mind, it is often referred to mind as an elephant. I think in ancient India, elephant is part of daily life. So it's I think interesting and very relevant metaphor for the mind. Because if you look at the behavior of the elephant, if you don't take care, if you don't tame elephant, it is very destructive. And usually we say the wild mind is like a drum elephant. It will destroy others' houses. It will destroy his own house, everything. But also, if you tame animal, it has so much potential because it has a very strong power, energy. So if you look at, once you tame elephant, then it's very rare they become wild. They will listen you exactly as you say. So the elephant is not good, it's not bad. It's a very powerful phenomenon. If you been able to tame that powerful phenomena, and it will become a very useful, isn't it? He can break the big trees easily. He can carry a big load. So this is very similar to our mind. That mind is very powerful, and it has lots of potentials, energy, so to speak. If you know how to use those energy correctly, properly, it is a very useful energy, productive, so to speak. And if you don't know how to take care of that energy, or don't know how to use them properly, and especially if you misuse them, and it can be very destructive. That's very clear, I think. If you look at in this, even this just Earth, right? We talk about dinosaur, all these things. But if you look, what is the most destructive thing in this world? It's a human being, right? Not because we are very big. We are quite small compared to many other animals. But because we have this wild mind. And this collective wild mind become a much more danger than all the other danger energies. So this is very obvious. Outer destruction, inner destruction. So what I'm trying to say is that if you take care of your mind, everything's taken care of. But once your mind is not taken care of, then no matter how much you try, individually, collectively, it's almost impossible to solve the problem. So this mind is both, in a way. It's a blessing if you know how to work with it, but it is a curse if you don't know how to work with it. So it's very important to know how to work with it properly. And this is exactly what we are doing, why we are studying. As Buddha said, that the whole core of my teaching is to tame this mind. So I'm trying to saying is that whole purpose of our practice is taming this mind. Maybe tame is sometimes, especially maybe in the West, is a little bit too strong word. If you say taking care properly, that might be a little, easy word that we can relate to it in a way. So we are just looking at some essential points and the importance of doing that, and the different kinds of techniques, the process, and the maybe the order or sequence and something like that. So yesterday we looked at the three very important components of meditation specifically, but also we can say the three very foundational or inevitable how to say essential parts of our practice. So revulsion or renunciation, which is like the food, and the devotion, which is like the head of our meditation or practice, and the most important, the awareness, which is like a body of our meditation or practice. So if you have all these three, it means you have a complete food, head and body. If some of them are missing, then you have an incomplete body. Of course, we are talking about this, the real Dharma practice and Dharma meditation, right? If you're just doing therapeutic meditation, then I don't think all these are necessary, because maybe you can have renunciation, maybe not, but you can still meditate and calm, Or maybe devotion is not that necessary, maybe awareness is necessary. But if we are practicing the real Dharma for the sake of liberation and enlightenment, then these are very important. It is not just important, but what you call the indispensable. Is it indispensable?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm trying to learn one new word every day. Now, today I will try to focus on the, okay, so we have all these pieces, how to put them together, or what is the sequence or order, yeah? um, so generally speaking, among these three, like say revulsion, devotion and awareness, I think we can say that the revulsion is the first where you start, or for the beginners, this is the way you have to focus on understanding and being clear about what you really looking for, what you really want. Yeah, not like one day I want this, next day I want that, and you keep, then you will waste a lot of time and energy. And then after that you can focus on the devotion aspects. So if you are studying whole Buddha Dhamma as a whole package, then this revulsion practice you can see mostly in the Sutrayana. And then the devotion you can see in Sutrayana at the very end of the part, focus, emphasis. But if you start practicing Mahayana, especially the Vajrayana, then there's a lot of practice that is focused on the devotion, supplication, Guru Yoga. Yeah? So you will see that it's almost like the second level emphasis in it. Now the third one, the awareness, you can in a way say that it's almost like, yes, it is like a pillar for all the practice, but this is very much emphasized and pointed out directly in the very let's say like in Dzogchen and like Mahasanti and Mahamudra practices. It also has all this gradual part, but emphasis is always on this, the last part, the awareness. And comparatively, you can also see because of that in Tibet is very much Vajrayana oriented practice. So people talk about all this nature of mind pointing out because of that. And then if you look at the other Buddhist culture practice such as Sri Lanka and other, you can see more of this renunciation, letting go is the more emphasized. So this is one kind of order or criteria you can understand as in general, but of course we can also practice one session, with renunciation, starting from there, motivation, and going to the devotion. Sometimes we do some supplication before the prayers, and then you do actual prayer where you sit, and that will be the third one. So even in one session we can have all these three things. Now that's very similar practices or pith instructions we consider. Now this is the one, this is coming general, but mostly it's coming from Kakyupas lineage, right? Coming from Gambapas practice. And now if you look at like in Sajapa, they also have this certain kind of pith instructions, which we call it a parting from for attachment. So it also talks about the very 4 essential points to be noted and not to be caught up by these 4 things. Otherwise, your practice is not authentic. And we can call it, I think, 4 attachment. Attachment. I think you can almost call it like a 4 handcuffs, for your 4 limbs in a way. If you have that, you're stuck there. No matter how you try to move, your effort won't pay. It's quite a similar, but it's explained in a little bit different way than these 3. So it says that if you are, again, we should not take it too literal because it's a pith instruction and it can be very bold, and you might be discouraged if you don't understand the meaning. If you don't think. So it says that if you attach to this life, you're not spiritual practitioners. Now we are talking about quite authentic, supreme practitioners. So we have to think like that. But of course, this is something how we should admire, how we should wish, how we should aspire. This is also one thing I think problem that I see is that sometimes we become a little bit too low self-esteem when we practice Dharma. And sometimes we say, oh, maybe I should do that. And then we say, of course I cannot do that because I'm not a Milarepa, right? And we say that and just stop even trying. And then when somebody says, you should do that, and say, I'm just ordinary human being. I'm not Milarepa, I'm not this, I'm not... It's true. But then, yes, maybe you are not Milarepa, yeah? But can you try the worst Milarepa student? Yeah, really. Because we cannot just say, oh, I'm not this, I'm not that, then what were you going to do, right? These are all excuses. So you have to think like, yeah, I'm not Milarepa, but I'm supposed to be his worst student. Do something. Yeah, I'm not a Buddha, but, I'm not a Guru Rinpoche, but so it should be the but, and at least you have to have these expectations, hope, not the best, but, and sometimes we want to do too much or we don't do anything, remember? We become this extreme practitioners. So you cannot be Buddha, but at the same time, you're doing nothing. So it's important to motivate ourselves and think, yeah, I'm not a Milarepa, but I can be the worst Milarepa, so to speak. So this, I think I already talked about several times, at the beginning also when we talked about genuine Dhamma, that this is same as revulsion that we are talking about, If you don't have revulsion, means if you are still very entertained by the worldly concepts and think this is the essence of my life, and you are not practitioner, you are just fulfilling your mundane samsaric wishes through the excuses of Dharma. I think many of our therapeutic dharmas are like that in a way. It's not wrong, but it's not authentic, from the real dharma's point of view. And the second thing it says that if you are attached to the samsara, now these two are similar, but there's a little bit different. If you are still attached to the samsara and you don't have renunciation, so the first one is this life, and second is samsara, means that if you attach to samsara, you are not ready to be liberated. You want to sink more into the samsara, and when you have that, renunciation is impossible. And so now the third one is that if you're attached to self-concern, self-centric, self-interest, you can say, and then you don't have a bodhicitta. So again, this is moving from the renunciation to the bodhicitta. And the fourth one we also talked, I think, when we were talking about the ground view, if you have a grasping, any kind of grasping, right? Now it's talking about the ultimate view, of course. If you have a grasping, or let's say as long as you have a grasping, you don't have a view. It means you don't have an authentic view. Still your view is a little bit incomplete. So these are not saying literally that you don't have a view, but it means you don't still have an authentic ultimate view. There's still certain incomplete because you're still grasping. And that's why as it was saying that if you think it exists, you're as stupid as a cow, and if you think nothing exists, you are more stupid. And this is the same meaning. As long as you are in grasping, it is an attachment. So these are four, we can say, the incorrect doors, the mistaken gates, so to speak, that we should really watch, and careful. And from the opposite, we can understand that renunciation is important, bodhicitta is important, and prioritizing nirvana is important, and getting rid out of attachment is important. So if you look at, there's a certain part which is view, there's a certain part which is ground, there's a certain part which are the path. And very similar sequence or the order usually you see in many the so-called the gradual path, Lamrim. But it is very nicely explained by, like, say, Lama Tsongkhapa in Gelugpa system. They call it three principal aspects of path. So if you summarize all these different kind of practices, and then you have three things: renunciation, bodhicitta, and the authentic or ultimate view. We can summarize into these three. And again, if you look at the reason is that renunciation comes first, bodhicitta comes in the second, and the authentic view comes on the third. Very similar. Again, without the renunciation, we won't be able to start. And without the bodhicitta, we might do something, but it will be very limited. So to make our path as in Mahayana path, make our path as in the great path. Not only that, but for example, many of us even who are consider ourselves, we have some renunciations, but then still we do something, but we stuck there. One reason is this: not having genuine bodhicitta. Not just empathetic bodhicitta, but bodhicitta that is based on wisdom. So actually, imagine that you are running, you're going to somewhere, and this renunciation is like a starting point. You have to start, you have to take one step, right? Again, you have to prioritize. And this bodhicitta is almost like favorable conditions to boost our path. really. Now why our path is slow? Because our bodhicitta is not enough, or it is not the wisdom based but maybe emotional based, you know. There's so many caught-ups. And this, the ultimate view is almost, you can say, path as well as the result. It's like you have started, you're running very fast, and you have reached somewhere. In this context, when we say ultimate view, it's similar to here when we say that being free from any kind of attachment. And it was similar to yesterday's, that awareness, the mere awareness, which does not fall into the extremes of exaggerations or denigrations. So these are different words, but they are very, very similar meaning. So you can see this process of growing up as a tree. You start with the renunciation, and you go to the bodhicitta, and then you become a ultimate view, which is free from all the mental fabrications. So this is one way to understand the sequential order. So this is why the word attachment is quite a broad word. So I'm not sure exactly what it sounds in English, but in Tibetan we say zimpa. It could mean to very gross attachments, such as, oh, this is my flower, this is my territory, this is my status, to the very subtlest, such as, I am meditating, or oh, this is emptiness. These are very subtle, but still it's a clinging. So it's a very broad meaning, and because of that, even if you look at the this 12 link, okay, so where all these problems start, it is if you look at in the general, especially in the Sutrayanas, and then why we suffer, and we always say because the origin always goes back to say tanha. So this word tanha is attachment, discontentment, all the other our disturbing emotions, and the action starts from that. So from the word there, even though it is not knowing, remember the snake, yeah, but the direct, it has more direct contact with our action. Okay, so let's say not knowing the rope as rope was a problem, but it's more indirect. So why you run away? Because you get scared. So you can say this scaredness becomes the direct cause of our problems. And that's why sometimes if you go more deeper, and we call this maripa, avidya, not knowing, is the cause of samsara. But then sometimes when you just read, okay, so what is the truth of origin, we say attachment, because it's the direct link. So this maripa becomes like a more deeper cause rather than the direct cause, so to speak. And this word tanha is a very, I think we can say, has a sense or the meaning of being very subtle, unsatisfactory state of mind. Now, if you look at in our life, why I'm suffering, and if you really trace back, 90, almost we can say 99% of our sufferings are coming from this unsatisfactory state of mind. You can trace back very easily from being bored with seeing same flower to the complaining that this flower is not good. So this discontentment, we can also call it, I think, or the unsatisfactory state of mind is the very foundational basic cause of all our small problems, such as not being happy with the flower to our global warming. Imagine that our great-grandfathers thought of their grandchild and did something, probably, all the pollutions and this, it might not be like that today. But we all become, I am important, I'm not happy. So this short-minded discontentment and self-centric becomes a problem, collectively problem. And of course, why nations are fighting? Discontentment, right? And why families are fighting? Discontentment. So so these are some general sequence. You can also use, of course, your meditation sessions that revulsion comes first, and then devotion, and the awareness, and for attachment, trying to eliminate for attachment through the mindfulness and carefulness. As I said yesterday, first we screen them, we detect them, and then we eliminate them each time we practice. And this, to summarize even all of this together, you can say renunciation, altruistic mind or bodhicitta, and the ultimate view or the authentic view. And use all of these are necessary, and at the beginning we have to focus on the first one. For example, right now for like me, responsibility would be among the four attachment. I really have to focus on the attachment to this life. So this will be my task. In order to develop my renunciation. Similarly, I have to focus on the renunciation. And similarly, I have to focus on the revulsion. And then when I'm a little bit confident about that, then we practice all of them together, but then we can move from the renunciation to the devotion, or maybe attachment to this life to the attachment to samsara. and then maybe to the more self-centered mind and so forth. Again, following the order or the sequence is very, very important. As I said also before that because of two reasons we don't see very clear our effect is that whether you're doing randomly out of overexcited or you're doing nothing just out of over disappointed or out of fear, like I said, oh, I'm Milarepa, I'm not a Milarepa, so and then you're just following your own habit, and so too fast or too slow. So it's almost like saying when you are taking medicine, whether you are taking all the medicines at the first day and becoming an overdose, or you're lazy and not careful and you're taking medicine one today and then maybe in another week, which we're supposed to take day by day. So when you have these two extremes, doing too much or too less, and then there's very difficult to see the effect or the result. This is often, it also happens in the journey of our there is one beautiful expression in our Dharma practice or the Tibetan, and especially in order to develop this first level renunciation, is that we say Nitse Nyingbu Lemba or Tsedi Nyingbu Lemba. Tsedi means this life. Nyingbu Lemba is like literally taking the essence from this life. This is very important and beautiful saying, I think, because now what we are doing is that we are like, let's say if you're a bee, and then you have to know which flower you like, and then you have to focus on one flower, and then you have to really, take the essence. Not that you're running here and there all over the day and just start eating from the root, that it will take so much effort and you don't have time and nothing happens. So taking the essence is that there are so many things to do in life, and our mind is running everywhere, but then you have to focus and say, no, this is the essence, this is what I want. I was saying from the beginning again and again, and I have to focus on this. Then I think things become much, much easier because you have so much time and energy and you're focused. Now our focus is like that, We have time and energy, but then we're giving that time and energy into so many things that nothing is happening. It's like you're a bee, and instead of sticking into the one flower which has a, essence, you're going to all the trees and then, trying to extract from so many other, even many times, even not flower, but you're just trying to. So this Nyingbu Lemba, and this is exactly where you start to recognize what you really want, and also where you prioritize your Dharma, and also through that renunciation starts from there. And you don't feel like I have to do so many things, but I don't have time and energy. You just feel like I have lots of time and energy. And one very good metaphor, it is said in text, is that, let's say you are in the big jungle, and you're looking for the wood in order to cook. And let's say you have eggs here, and then if you start hitting, one by one to all these 1,000 trees, at the end you will be exhausted, and there's no one piece of wood that you will come back, because you are not hitting same point. So it doesn't really matter how much effort if you don't know how to extract the essence. You can work whole day, yeah, but you will come back empty-handed. The point is you have to hit same tree at the same point, and something will happen. So this is what is means by the extracting or taking the essence from the life. And I think we will never feel the lack of time and energy to practice Dhamma. Also, very important thing is that here, between, let's say, I, me, and my life, all these around me, this, do that. Now, we are not the masters of life, even though we think like that, but we have been quite elusive that you become a servant of your life. Right? So in order to maintain your life, you have to spend whole your time and energy. So that's quite stupid in a way, right? I think especially in the developed country, because you have so much in maintenance takes so much time and energy. Maybe in the Nepal, you build small house, then there's no concept of maintenance. It's okay. Not need to worry too much. So you have to tell your life what to do. Not like your life is telling you every day what you should do. So becoming a masters of life, not the slave of our life. This is very close to what it means to be taking the essence from the life. When you do that, then I think you can, no matter where you are, what you do, there's a certain way where you can start your renunciation. And then also you will see some changes, maybe in a week, maybe in a month, maybe in a year. Because imagine that you're focusing 1 month in one practice, definitely something will happen, because it's a law of nature, yeah. So what I'm trying to say here is that it's important to follow the sequence as we take a medicine, and by knowing where you are and what is your responsibility and what is your priority, and doing it properly, instead of doing things randomly out of over excitement and over disappointment. And these are the, I think, very common and most frequent occurring obstacles in our path as in general, especially when we try to meditate. Okay, I will stop here today. Sunam Deye Tapche Sikpanye Tavne Nyepe Dhanam Kamjene Kega Nachi Bala Drupagi Sipe Sole Drowa Shu. By this merit may all obtain omniscience, may it defeat the enemy wrongdoing from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death,
From the ocean of samsara may I free all beings.